The Lotus versus Mara Sov. No one on YouTube has scaled the Lotus, so I'm going to change that. Let's talk about Darvo. While Darvo has some non-canon stuff related to him, like the promotion of an in-game sale, and every single statement he gives to the operator, he always finds a fourth dimensional barrier or some universal barrier somewhere, confirming the universe is at the very least 4D. Cephalon Psi has two statements that are fifth dimensional. The first one comes from the TennoCon 2019 stream, where they were showcasing the first version of the Rising Tide quest. Note that it was not a full quest, it was just the first version of what they were creating to hype people up at the time. Anyhow, while the operator in Cephalon Psi was in the void, Cephalon Psi detected fifth dimensional energies. The context is he sensed energy from the man in the wall, noticing what was happening with them and wanted to see what was up. So they had to quickly get out. Do note that this gives Cephalon Psi fifth dimensional sophistication because he's able to sense and process fifth dimensional energies. All Cephalons can do that. The next 5D statement comes from the official canon release of the Rising Tide quest, which comes before New War. I'm going to argue three interpretations with this statement, so we have three different ways to take it. A. Nacelle itself is 5D because Cephalon Psi made that statement right after getting Nacelle. B. He was referring to himself having to go inside the ship and manipulate it because of the fifth dimensional geometries part. Or C. He meant to refer to another Cephalon who would go into the ship and manipulate it. Regardless of what you get, either the ship itself is 5D, so you have to be 5D to manipulate it, or the two Cephalons who would go into the ship and manipulate it have to be 5D in order to manipulate a 5D ship. Let's talk about the Weave because people magically forget about the Weave. The Weave is a place of memory and consciousness made manifest. So a fifth dimensional Cephalon, who's only a sophisticated fifth dimensional being, can physically manifest as a physically fifth dimensional being, as in they are physically fifth dimensional. I will play the evidence.
My mind, my rules. Your Tenno anthem dies here, and with it your infantile consciousness.
Soulless machine, you can't hold me. My dream, it's come true. I have joined my operator in action. And you,
Operator, there's too many of them.
Pathetic Cephalon. I destroyed this data mine, and now I will destroy you.
So let's review. Hunhao possessed a Cephalon, which is a 5D feat, took that into the Weave, which is a physically 5D feat. Ordis went in to take on Hunhao and couldn't do so. And then Cephalon Samaris, the same thing happened when he came in to help, and then the operator could do nothing but use Octavia's anthem. So, you have a 5D arguably nerfed Hunhao taking on two 5D beings along with the operator. Why isn't all of this 5D? Let's talk about Man in the Wall's feat. Man in the Wall's feat was the deal, and he is above linear time, so we all know that's 5D. But what you didn't know was after his finger was cut off, it started duplicating itself everywhere. That's why you see fingers in the railjacks all the time powering them. These 5D fingers are inside every railjack that matters inside Warframe, meaning you can scale every railjack to 5th dimensional, ignoring everything else inverse. Not only that, because there's duplicates of the finger, that means the Zarman, which scales above the railjack, would also have to be 5D. Let's talk about Mara Sov. People forget that Mara Sov did a lot in Witch Queen, so we'll talk about it. With Mara Sov, she helped the main character get a heavy exotic weapon. Do note that this heavy weapon is relative to the main character in terms of the damage it can output, but Mara Sov had to not only create the weapon using magic, but also adjust the potency of it so the worm can't escape. Do note that Savathun's worm is the thing powering the cannon, and she had to completely manipulate the worm and the energies of the worm. So this is blatantly fifth dimensional. What happened at the time was Mara Sov tricked the worm into thinking she was going to give the worm her body as a host. But what happened was she manipulated the worm by not letting it realize that the host body she was creating was a weapon for the worm. The whole point of the worm was to tell a story about how Savathun stopped the collapse from ending every single thing inside of Soul. Which, by the way, that is lore-wise very significant. The end result is she was the one who created Parasite and the energies inside Parasite. Parasite scales to the Hive Gods. Now, I've already talked about the Hive Gods before, so if you want to know more about them in explicit detail, I suggest you check on another video, because this video is not at all about the Hive Gods. So who wins between the two? Honestly, I think the Lotus, and here's why. For experience, they're really similar. They're hundreds, if not thousands upon thousands of years old, and they've been leaders of the respective people for a very long time within that same time period. So both are capable leaders and both are very experienced. Mara Sov takes the hacks category, no debate. If she were to have a long enough time to separate from the Lotus, set up and then create a one-shot spell, such as sending her to the Ascendant Plane or just turning her into dust with awoken nonsense, she can win that way. So it's not like it's a one-stop shop one-shot. However, all that magic really doesn't matter when 80% of it won't work on a sentient because they'll just resist it anyway because it's too weak to kill them. So with the majority of Mara Sov's arsenal more or less being nullified, that forces her to use the strong stuff. And the strong stuff have a really long charge time. Wishender can one-shot their opponents. However, Wishender takes a long time to charge. The Annihilator Totems, she can use an Annihilator Totem, but that takes a while to charge. And then as for her cunning and strategy, it's really risky even though it has a massive payout. While you can give Mara Sov combat intelligence and she fought Xivu Wrath, that's mostly all we have from her. The truth is, within the same tier, Lotus is much faster. We're talking by about 10 to 20 times faster than Mara Sov. Other than that, she has a very hyper-aggressive nature, which keep in mind, she's Han Hao's brat. She has to curb the tendency to dominate and then destroy all of life on a daily basis so she can be the Tenno's mother. So she's very bloodthirsty, keep that in mind. And then she's a sentient. 80 to 90% of Mara Sov's arsenal won't work on her. Sure, Mara Sov is a void entity, but sentients can still resist attacks from void entities if they don't one-shot them, which a lot of Mara Sov's attacks don't one-shot the Lotus. Ignoring that, the Lotus can get up close and absorb all of Mara Sov's energy because she's fast enough to do so. So, you tell me how Mara Sov's gonna win, because it looks like the Lotus takes this 4 out of 5, if not like 5 out of 5 times if they were to fight. It's just the whole thing is, if she gives Mara Sov longer than 5 or 6 seconds, which is possible because Mara Sov is intelligent enough to do so, then Mara could get the win on the Lotus. It's just that on an opponent as aggressive as the Lotus, a lot of her stuff won't matter, so you're very likely going to take Lotus over Mara Sov anyway. But that's just my take. The whole point of this video was just to show that Lotus is a lot stronger than you thought. I saw a debunk being dropped on me last night when that same debunk does not factor in the weave, does not factor in power creep, does not factor in the universal scaling, and does not factor in how the Man in the Wall works with void energies. So, enough said. The Lotus is pretty busted. That's all I had to say. If you believe I deserve a like, please leave a like. If you think I deserve to share, please share because that would help me out compared to every single thing you could do on the internet. And if you think I deserve the subscription, that's awesome. But that's all I had to say. I hope y'all have a wonderful day, wonderful morning, wonderful night, whatever, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.